My name is Andrew. Thanks for checking out my new YouTube channel I call Inlinemotoring, where I plan to show you guys the progress and journey of my R32 Skyline GTST Coupe. Um, I guess a little bit of history about the car. I bought the car December of 2016. I found it on Craigslist here locally on the north side of Chicago. Actually south and towards Kankakee, but it was close enough to worth checking out. A little bit more history. I guess the car had been for sale for quite a few months. It had quite a few problems. No one really wanted to get into it, wanted to get near it. Of course, I didn't know this when I bought it. I thought it had just come up on Craigslist and I hadn't seen it yet. And I was like, oh my god, there's a Skyline in my price range. We have to go check it out. Well, went and checked it out, and sure enough, there were a ton of problems. First off, the terrible, terrible noise that the transmission made. Turns out that it wasn't the transmission or clutch at all, although the clutch wasn't exactly in the greatest shape, but the engine was out of an automatic. The RB20 that was in it came out of an automatic car, and it still had the torque converter bushing in the back of the crankshaft. Didn't actually have a pilot bearing. So the collar was jammed up against the input shaft of the transmission. It just destroyed all the splines, and yeah, that was fun. That was the first big problem. Otherwise, tons of power steering leaks, fuel leaks, the fuel pump O-ring gasket was gone, the fuel pump relay was taped together and held together with a zip tie. Just tons and tons and tons and tons of things that were wrong with it. Let's fast forward to now. I've had the car, like I said, since December 16th. I've done quite a bit to it, so let's take a look. I guess we'll start with the exterior. The car is on TN Street coilovers. The wheels are ARC wheels. They're eBay specials. The tires are Goodyear Eagle F1s on all corners. The flares were actually on the car when I bought it. Car sits pretty level but pretty high, and that's how I like it. I don't like rubbing issues or anything like that. Pretty clean, pretty straight, extremely rust free. I did get pretty lucky, even though I did have to do a crap ton to it. Now what you see here is a RB25 out of an R33. That's a Freddy, not a Greddy, a Freddy in a front-facing manifold, radium fuel rail, pressure gauge, regulator. Right there you'll see a flex fuel sensor, although it's plumbed and wired in. The car's not tuned for flex fuel yet. My old school Greddy blow-off valve. The turbo is a Turbonetics 50 trim with a .63 rear housing. It's still internally gated. We have a 3-inch downpipe that me and my good friend TK built when we swapped the turbo. And you can see it basically just exits right under the passenger floor. One of the things I will show you guys is I want to hook my catback back up, and I got to build that piece of pipe. So that's one of the things that's on my list of things to do. Couple other things. Batteries obviously in the trunk. I have the fuse box tucked in and hidden under the fender well there. Steering is an R33 pump with an R33 reservoir. Yes, my air conditioning still works. Every car needs air conditioning. Every race car. Everyone's got to have it. As for ignition, I'm using Toyota Denso or Yaris ignition coils. Deleted the igniter. And this is something you can do on any 20, 25, 26. You can, with a stock computer, absolutely no mods whatsoever, you can literally delete the entire igniter and get better coils from the junkyard and spend like $0. Great. The injectors and pump in it right now are out of an R32 GTR. As for fuel management, we'll come inside the car. I'm using a ECU Master black case, basic ECU with the plug and play harness, still using the RB20 engine harness. We can start it up here. The car still does need to be tuned ever since now that I've done the big manifold, the big turbo, went to a little bit bigger of an injector. So it's safe to drive on the street, but it's by no means tuned for wide open throttle. Shut that off so you guys can actually hear me. One other cool thing I got inside the car here is you'll see a wireless keyboard right there. Mounted in the trunk, I have a 12-volt Windows-based PC. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see or what kind of glare. But I literally, rather than having a laptop in your lap, I just have a computer mounted in my car. There's my fuel table, there's fuel curves, flex fuel, boost. I can do drive-by-wire, two-step, anti-lag. You can basically do just about anything. This is my most used screen. TPS, flex fuel content, or ethanol content rather, manifold pressure, intake air temp, coolant, oil pressure, ignition timing, vehicle speed. It's calibrated in miles per hour. It is amazing. I don't even look at my dashboard half the time anymore. RPM, air fuel ratios. So I can basically do anything, change anything right here without ever needing to bring a laptop to the car. It's pretty convenient in those cases, although that little screen does suck sometimes. Things we needed, or I need to do to the car still, rather. Like I said earlier, we're gonna finish the exhaust, new intake tube. The intake tube is still a stock accordion pipe, and me and my good friend TK are going to come up with a little something new, aluminum with all the fittings and everything we're going to need to do it. MAC valve. I've had it installed in the car. I had it plumbed up, but I couldn't get the settings right to the point to where I was getting boost spikes. I wouldn't hold. So I finally just said screw it, and I put a just manual boost controller back in it. The AC condenser fan, I have to wire up the trigger for the air conditioning. I did have it on my electric fans, but my good friend TK once again convinced me to take out the electrics and put my stock clutch fan back in. And now surprisingly, the car is actually much cooler, runs a lot cooler. So I'm going to keep the clutch fan. Now I just got to wire that up. Let's see what else we got here. Seal up the taillights. I realized I was getting some water in the trunk, and come to find out the gaskets on my taillights were leaking, so got to do that. I have a battery cutoff switch sitting over there on the table. That's just more of a safety thing than anything. The flex fuel check engine light. Like I said, I do have the flex fuel sensor plumbed in and wired in, and it was been working fine. I was getting enough flex fuel content. I'll be able to see the ethanol in my regular gasoline. It was kind of cool. I was getting about 8%. It's kind of interesting. But now, if I enable the flex fuel sensor, the ECU master tells me there's a check engine light and there's something wrong with the sensor, so it automatically disables it. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'll look into that as well. Install and paint the rear spoiler. Sitting over here, I have a GTST Type M rear spoiler for it. I wanted a GTR wing, but this one came up locally, so that's kind of why I grabbed it. Coolant gauge sensor. I just have to swap the little temp sending unit for my gauge right here. It's right there. Well, when I got the manifold, it came with sensors already in it, so that's kind of why. Radio delete. I want to get rid of my actual radio in the dashboard. That's right there. I can't even know how to pronounce it. Just a regular, and then I'm going to put in like a marine type amp that has an aux input as well as Bluetooth. It just has a volume knob. That's it. I don't really listen to the radio or CDs or anything, so if I ever do listen to anything, it's just a matter of plugging in or connecting my phone to Bluetooth. As well as other things for the car. I mean, that's pretty much it. There's not really too crazy going on with it. I guess we can take a look around at the other project I'm helping a buddy out with. This is a 95 240 SX. It's my friend Steven's car. He has a KA turbo setup in it. It's running Mega Squirt, the plug and play setup. Really cool car. What I'm actually doing to it is converting it to coil on plug, getting rid of the single coil that KA comes with factory. Yeah, so I mean, between me and all my car buddies, we basically all have Nissans and we get into a lot of shenanigans. So stay tuned. Hope to see you guys come back.